All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Trek Talk Supply Chain Style. I'm TechMan16.
And I'm here.
I'm here too.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, due to supply chain issues, it's hard to get some podcasts out. I'm waiting on some imported workers from China to do my editing for me, but they never seem to arrive. They're always off the coast of LA or Florida.
It's it's on a real note, man. That stuff it's pretty ridiculous. Like even just Christmas shopping, I'm like, dude, like I saw this same toy online a year ago for like $10, and now it's $34.99.
Do you know what industry has really been impacted by the supply chain problem?
Porn. I don't know.
No, it's actually printing.
Yeah. I think you and I had a conversation about that and some of this.
It is ridiculous because I get a lot of labels made for what I do.
Yeah.
And or boxes, like cartons that you put stuff into. And you can't get that. Like SBS, man, nobody's got it. And some sort of film stock to print labels, it's like 12-week lead times, 20-week lead times. You're like, this is insane. What is going on?
So what you're saying is you're pumping out products with a strip of duct tape with some Sharpie on it.
Yeah. I just tell the hospitals, just if you see something like that, it's cool. It's all good.
It's fine. It's fine. It's like the old
It's
system of a
fine.
down. The old system of a down. Steal this album.
Exactly. Anyways, supply chain. Yeah, fun stuff. If you're affected by it, I'm sorry. It really does suck because for me, every day is a new thing. Actually, one of my items, you know what the lead time is on new things for one of my items is? Crickets. 62 weeks. If I place an order now, I will get it 62 weeks later.
Holy crap. For what?
Glass.
Glass.
Yeah. Glass.
Dude, I could start my own glass foundry faster than that. What the fuck?
It's possible. It's possible you could, but no, it's because of Operation Warp Speed COVID. The government will take all the, they're first in line for the COVID vaccines and the boosters and whatnot that are produced. So that impacts everybody else.
So you heard it here first, folks. Make sure you recycle your fucking bottles.
Yeah, it's a different type of glass, but similarly, yes, please recycle all your bottles. That would help the world go round. All right, what do we got? New STFC arc dropped, and it blows.
Oh, it sucks ass, dude.
And we had disco battles, because that's what we really clamored for in beta parts of Origin Space. Disco battle.
If you didn't have Honor Guard Worf, Harrison, and a maxed out fucking Marcus, then you just pretty much lost everything.
Yeah.
You can't argue that.
I mean, I won some purely based on the fact that my discoveries maxed out, and I was 43. So if I was battling a kid, I say kid, right? Like, whatever. But if I was battling somebody that was like,
They're older than you.
like, they probably are older than me, right? But if I was battling somebody that was like level 34, 35, yeah, I mean, I'd probably beat him just based on the fact that I have, almost 10 levels of research and all this extra stuff. But even then, it was like I was barely winning against a ship that was like 400k to my 750k. Yeah, it was pretty outrageous. So I just basically sent my ship out to die, a lot.
Yeah, put Vemit on it and get your 2 kills.
I mean, the best crew that I found, because I don't have Harrison, it's the only one I don't have, was Worf, Marcus, and what's it, Borg Jayla? Was that 5 of 10?
Yeah, 5 of 11.
Yeah, or 11. Yeah, 11 now or whatever. But yeah, that was the best one that I found. If you didn't have Harrison, even then you still lost a lot. But I would win some. But it was so bad with that Harrison combo, dude. Half of my battles, my ship didn't even get a freaking shot off. Like I just died before my ship could even shoot. It was insanity.
Yeah, especially for guys who had like a max Harrison or a tier 4 Harrison, where you just ignore like a 90% chance to ignore shields the first round or something. Just wipe you out.
Yeah. And it's funny. Harrison's such a. I guess that's where the people that spent hundreds of dollars on Harrison, that was like their time to shine, because he's such a niche officer, right? Like Harrison shit against battleships, and like so. I mean, a lot of stuff like that. It's like, it's not worth it. But this one particular event, damn it, if you didn't spend that $300 or $400 in the past to get your Harrison, then you couldn't win easily or finish it easily.
We were talking in my lines, and this is the second time, they've done the Rialta version of this, and now the Disco. They keep picking Explorers to be their suboptimal off-brand warship PvP event, and with the Rialta, it was Toss Kirk and Uhura. If you didn't have that, you were out of luck. And now it's Harrison. I was like, stop picking Explorers. Have a Vidar battle.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Have a Stella battle.
Well, the Stella battle one was we already had one of those, remember?
Did we?
Yeah, we did have a Stella battle because I remember I was actually thinking about it yesterday. I remember that's back when our good friend Urbanator started kind of playing the game again, and he was like, I could tell he needed kills, so I just basically like took everybody off my Stella and kept sending it out so he could blow it up, so he could finish the damn event with like 15 minutes to spare. But yeah, we did do that one. It was one of the rogue arcs many moons ago.
And then when they did that other PvP event, they substituted the Taurus for the regular jellyfish.
Yeah. It's funny that they were doing that PvP event with the original jellyfish, and they kept bringing it back. Well, I mean, they used a bunch of other G2 ships, but the jellyfish, that was the one that won. Obviously every battle. And so there was one time where they, for whatever reason, offered it in the event store, and I was like level 39 or something, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get this original jellyfish and max it out for these PvP events. And they have not used the fucking jellyfish since in the PvP events. So I have this maxed out G2 jellyfish for no reason.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
I mean, back then, when they came out, when I first started playing the game, when they came out with the jellyfish, I was like, there's no way that I'm spending $50 on a mobile game. These people are stupid. People that buy it are stupid. You're stupid if you spend that kind of money in this game. Any money, you're all retarded. You're crackheads. And then, now look at me.
Now you are the crackhead. Now we're all crackheads.
Oh, I'm beyond that. I mean, $50 is like, that's nothing.
Yeah, we're to the point where like, yeah, I don't remember. Remember the time where you just used to buy the game, and then you unlock all the features and play it as much as you want. Get bored with it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember mobile games back in the day where they would have the microtransactions, but if the game was good enough, you would spend like $3 to remove all the ads, and like I was like, okay, that's sort of acceptable. But now it's like you have to go to the bathroom. Do you want to pay $5 to take a piss?
Because you're in the middle of a PvP battle.
Yeah.
Or a territory takeover. Those 3-star systems, right? They take 1 hour. You can't really do anything in that 1 hour.
Oh, you're talking about the TCs?
Yeah. Unless lag hits you.
I mean, if it's an active battle, then yeah. I mean, it gets pretty rough. But for the most part, it's all the prerequisites to be met to be able to try to attempt to take somebody else's level 3 TC system. It's a bit. What's the way to put it? It's a bit difficult to meet all those prerequisites. So for the most part, nobody really contests them. So you just sit around for 15 minutes, nobody shows up, and then you just kind of recall all your ships and going about your way.
Yeah.
You might leave one ship anyway.
Anyways, let's get back to this arc.
It sucks.
Kirk, you made the comment that it sucks ass, like major.
Oh yeah.
Why do you say that?
Oh yeah. It eats whole ass. I mean, dude, like for example, right now there's a battle pass event where you have to do the away missions, And so you really have to keep up with those. If I'll put it to you this way: it's not like super easy to complete. It's not just going out and upgrading a few things or whatever. That currency is very specific. So if you're out of speed ups, like I was, because who in their right mind would think that they were going to do a battle pass point event that was going to be away teams? About a week ago, I spent a bunch of speed ups because I was trying to get the tokens so I could do more research. So I was doing a bunch of speed ups because there were some things that I needed to research. And so then it comes to that, and I was like, well, guess I'm not going to be able to finish this motherfucker. But just stuff like that. Disco PvP, like come on, man. It's tedious. It's not fun. It's let me just send this ship. Wait for maybe I'll win one or two, blow up. Okay, now I got to repair and send it back. I'm just not into it. They're really trying. They're trying so hard to get people to fight each other in TC, and they're trying to make it to where, okay, well, you have to do this and have to do this to get the points and all this stuff. Well, now they pretty much got it. We've pretty much already figured out a way around that, and so they're going to continue to keep trying to get it a way for us to fight each other, and it's just not exciting. It's just.
Well, not only do you have to PvP, but you have to PvP in the beta systems of Origin Space. Nowhere else. like make it more obscure, will you?
Yeah, I don't know if they're running out of ideas or if it was just slapped together.
Actually, now that you mentioned the Battle Pass event with the away missions, you had to had a lot of away mission speed ups saved up because you had to get like what 1,300 points. That's like
Well, for me, it was 23.
2,300.
Yeah.
I had to get 1,300, and that's like, I think for me it was like 6 missions like that you had to speed up in a 24-hour period. I was like, wow, that's kind of a lot actually.
Yeah, I mean, luckily I already had uh, a rare mission going. I had 2 rare missions going, so I was able to. They were set to finish during this 24-hour period. But then after that, everything else was a common mission that I could do in like 12 hours or uncommon. And so it's like what, like 100 points or something like that. And then, like you say, I mean, you'd have to have several days worth of speed ups to be able to get it going, unless you had already started away missions a few days ago and you were waiting for that return. It's like getting the speed ups for away missions. It's like rarefied air, and it's really difficult. And then of course they come out with this battle pass mission, and then they're like, oh, hey, don't worry, there's $100 pack in the store for you to be able to get speed ups, so you can get 20 or 1,500 battle pass points, or whatever the 15,000 or whatever the hell the currency is. And it's like, nah, man, I'm just not going to complete that, and I just won't be able to complete the full heroic overflow or whatever it is, because I'm not dealing with it. So I'll be able to get Gowron and Martok. Which, side note, the screenshot of Gowron has been floating around, and it's hilarious. I'm seeing it like, obviously, Google and on all these things, they see everything you do and track everything you do. So I'm seeing it pop up like in Reddit, Facebook, and it's a screenshot of the Gowron office, and he's just those eyes, and people are making memes out of it now and stuff, and it's gone beyond STFC. So I don't know if that was like the joke, like when they were doing character design, like Brad was like, bro, look at this, and they're like, that's hilarious, and he's like, no, man, it's going out like that. Like, I'm leaving it.
Well, that was his who was it? Robert O'Reilly. He goes by Bob. That was the defining feature when he did Gowron, was the eyes, right? Can't remember if he had a story about that. I because I think he was playing Gowron, but It's like maybe somebody suggested to him like maybe you should do something more distinguishing like you did in your other movie or show where you just like pop open your eyes or something, and that's what he did, and everybody's like, yes, that's Gowron.
Actually, and yeah, it was fantastic. So I will say that Gowron and Martok look like some decent officers. It's going to be another one of those where you're going to have to wait another 2 years before you can level them up, but they look like they're definitely going to have some good benefits coupled with Worf. So I could definitely see throwing that crew on like a maxed out D4 and just wreaking havoc.
Yeah, Crit Worf. He's good if you're doing short battles. He sucks if you're doing long battles.
Well, you can also, like, another decent crew that I've found in PvP is you'll put, whoever you want your captain to be. It doesn't matter, but you can use Honor Guard Worf and Khan so that you get your high crit chance
Yeah, early.
at the beginning, and then early on, and then during those rounds, your crit chance is constantly bumping up because of Khan. So when Worf wears off, now you have Khan to sort of take over for the crit chance. So that's another good combination.
Oh, you know what I was doing recently was I was PvPing with a guy my level, and I'm like a couple levels higher. I'm a 38 now. I think he's a 36 or a 35. In any case, so and his enterprise is a level 20, and I got a level 30 enterprise, and we were PvPing and whatnot, and I was blowing his enterprise up and whatnot, and then he comes out with a Leslie crew. And obviously Leslie blows up, but you win. So you get the win, but you blow up anyway. And like no matter what crew I was using, he would still take the win. And I was just like, this is fucked up, man.
Yeah, Leslie's clearly broken.
And so I'm trying every crew possible. I was trying Crit Wharf with Khan and Kirk, and like I was still fucking losing. I mean, my level 30 enterprise with probably more research at my higher level is losing to a level 20. I'm like, this fucking sucks. And it's funny because I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put my Leslie on there and see what happens. I put my Leslie on there and I still fucking lose. And we go 100 rounds. It's just like we go 100 rounds, we both blow up. I still lose. I couldn't for the life of me just like finally I found one crew that could beat a Leslie crew, and that was regular Kirk, Admiral Marcus, and Khan, and that blew it up like 6 times in a row. And I'm just like, all right, now I found my crew to win. But for a while there, I was just like, I was dumbfounded. I'm like, I'm blowing this shit up, like I'm doing all this damage. I even did Gorkon, Spock, or no, sorry, Gorkon, Kirk, Khan, and I was doing like 670, 700,000 crit damage, like starting round 10. Like every other round, I had 4 shots that had like 5 to 600,000 a shot, and I was still losing. I was so pissed.
Well,
But anyways, I took that crew and I started doing yellow bosses with it, and I blow up all the yellow bosses. So that was one good thing.
Andy, what do you think, man?
I think I'm not paying attention.
Oh, Jesus.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah, that was it's been a fun show.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know.
Seems like a good place to end it. Yeah.
I fucking loathe Leslie. I refuse to do any of the Leslie cheeses, but I was biting my lip because if I start raging on something else, I'm going to get a reputation. Believe it or not, everything doesn't piss me off. You guys just like to talk about the stuff that does. I fucking loathe.
Well, that's because that's what we're good at.
I fucking loathe Leslie. The people that do Leslie versus Leslie, Sarco battles to put up PvP hull damage points to cheese the loser boards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. It's gonna happen. Some people are looking for an edge. While I can ascribe to do what it takes to win, I don't know. My server, my bracket isn't really overly large, and ain't none of us doing it. Ain't none of us gonna do it. We just there's some whale pride going on. We're like, no. If we catch another whale, Wesley cheese, and doing a Leslie cheese, we'll.
Is that what we're coining it now? The Leslie cheese?
So we call it the Leslie cheese.
Because I should post one of these screenshots, but like a Leslie versus Leslie Enterprise battle. Now, mind you, an Enterprise at my level is like 1 million hull and 1 million shield, or similar to that nature. By the time that battle ended, I had like 86 million hull and or 86 million shield and like 3 million hull or 12 million hull or whatever. It was just some stupid, ridiculous number. I'm like, wow, that is way over what the Enterprise does.
I've never been successful with Leslie. It's funny that people are like, oh, use this crew and this is the crew, and I use it and then it fails, and I'm like, what? Well, fuck me, right? Like, what the hell?
You need synergy with Leslie.
I just would have gave it.
Yeah, I mean,
I use the same crew, whatever crew, I can't remember. It's been months and months since Leslie sort of became readily available, and so I get the $20 pack or whatever it was, because you get all the officers with it, and everybody's like, yeah, you got to use this crew. This is the exact crew, and I can't remember what it was. And I was like, okay, so I used exactly that shit, and it didn't work. And I was like, man, fuck all y'all. I'm not using this anymore.
It doesn't work for everybody. That's just how crews work. I mean, for some people and some ships in certain situations, it works well, and others it doesn't.
Yeah, I think I can't remember. I want to say somebody said that, well, your Enterprise isn't powerful enough. And I was like, oh, okay, because I completely neglect my Enterprise is only like 3.5 million level 20 or something like that, and it's nothing.
I remember the Leslie cheese eaters when they were using it, talking about your ship. There was like a band where if your ship was too weak or it was too powerful, it wouldn't work right. So there's like a sweet spot.
Just like the people that figured out, they're like, look, I can blow up a whatever the capital ships now with this Mud Beverly crew combo, and they're like, yeah, I can do this and that, and I'm like, yeah, but
Like Mud Bezro or something.
yeah, but there's a point of diminishing returns on that, when it's like it's not worth it for somebody at a higher level to use it, because
Yeah.
like I can blow up heavies, I can kill heavies, like several of them with one hull. And so it's not feasible for me to use that anymore. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a sweet spot for a lot of these crews, just like, oh, I got to use this particular crew to grind hostiles, in this system. But then you have somebody that's 10 levels ahead of you, and they could use Mabinga with nobody else. Just the fact that their ship is so overpowered is, so yeah, there's a sweet spot for everything.
Yeah, the fact that you can use Leslie to cheese some PvE and maybe get you over on mission bonus or do whatever, I could care less. Whatever, rock. You found a way. Was it an unintended consequence because Scopely doesn't understand how their officer math works? Yeah, probably. But when you can use that cheese to artificially inflate your points by an order of magnitude in a competitive event with rewards, and then that's where I'm like, yeah, I got a problem with it.
Yeah, exploitation is the name of the game, and Scopely set the precedent. So, I mean, that's what it is here, exploiting people.
I only ever tried the Leslie cheese once, and it was, against that damn board cube with deep space.
So hey, I did finally start upgrading my Meridian, my one Meridian, and I actually got it to the point now where people are trying to hit me OPL and losing. Because I saw the other day, I think it was 2 days ago, somebody tried to hit me OPL, and I only ever, I go to a full node, I zero it out, and I bring it home, and then I send it back. I don't reset nodes on a Meridian unless it's a half-eaten node, and then I'll reset it to try to fill it up a little bit more. But somebody hit my Meridian with like a Vidar, and I brought my ship home, and then I went to go check my ISO to see how much I had, because I go to check it and see which one I need to mine, and I was like, how the hell do I have this much? And then I went and looked at the battle log, and the dude hit me, and I got some of his shit. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, I got like 200,000 extra ISO. That all right.
So I posted my Leslie versus Leslie battle in the podcast chat. 86 million, 86 million shield, 2 million hull, and I still lose. It's like that makes no sense.
Why does somebody have pike side saddle?
For synergy.
I guess synergy. Yeah, synergy. I guess. Huh?
Yeah, because you get because I have Moreau, and that's like you get 10% hull back every round you're under 35% hull, which is like a dumb amount.
I love how it shows the shield strength as 86 million.
Well, that's what I mean. Like the battle went 100 rounds.
What the fuck? This thing.
It's like double the shield strength of my Int A.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's like a ridiculous force field around like some kid's power wheel. Like, what the fuck is that?
So it shows, and this is how it glitches. It shows you how much shield you actually generated based on having Kirk on the ship.
No.
And the hull, that's not the right hull because Enterprise only has like 1 million hull. That hull is how much at total got regenerated using Leslie. So it's
You guys went positive. Like your shield, you got into a fight and became stronger. You failed the task successfully. Like,
well, here's the thing, right? It's Scopely's internal mechanism of what happens during a battle in visual form. Like when you actually use your ships with those abilities, at the end of the battle, supposedly you have a certain amount of hull left, right? And your shield comes back normal. This is what happens if you use like Kirk on an Enterprise. You generate more shield every round or every other round, but that shield always goes back to nominal strength because you've lost it around and you've regenerated a bunch and you've lost it again and regenerated a bunch. And so that's the visual representation of how much shield you actually generated during the battle. So yeah, it's wonky like that.
yeah, I'm still trying to max out the auger. I'm getting pretty close to getting there. Also, for those people who didn't check, because I mean, I discovered it like a day late because I didn't look because they didn't advertise it. But the cloaks for the level 32 and the level 34 ships do exist now in the faction store. So, because they didn't advertise that, they advertised that they were coming out with the cloak for the sarcophagus and the the jellyfish. Whoop-de fucking do. And I was like, I guess, we're going to have to wait for the auger and stuff. And then I happened to go in the faction store to do something. I was like, oh, holy shit. They exist. You can get them. So it's going to run you.
Well, the jellyfish can cloak. The jellyfish can cloak now too.
Yeah. So the ISS jellyfish can now cloak, and so can the sarcophagus.
Why?
Yeah, pretty soon you're going to have like your Meridian's OPL is not going to matter because you're going to be able to cloak it, and you're going to have some exocomp where you're going to be able to extend your cloak for like 3 hours. So you just cloak mine,
No, they'll come out with instead of bubbles for bases, you'll have a bubble for your miner on a node.
Yeah.
Just Scopely could possibly hear this shit. Please stop. Please stop.
I think what it was they did the post for the ISS jelly so people could get their daily sense that they were pitching in morning. And then it's stupid. But I do think that the cloak on the sarcophagus isn't a terrible idea. Technically, it is a Klingon ship, even if it's a shitty one. But also, it's one way to really sneak and get that start to the node. If it gets there fast enough.
What's funny though, it's pretty rare, right? I don't have a super powerful ship. Like, I'm not a big player or whatever. I got like a 9 million Valdor. But even that 9 million Valdor, I have yet to come against a sarcophagus on a node that I lost to. I've yet for it to happen. So I don't know if and they're using, the triggering crews with the burning whatever, if you're on a node, it does this and all that stuff. They're using these crews, but I'm still just, wiping the floor with them. I mean, they're doing quite a bit of damage, but It's just I don't know. I just haven't seen it. I guess if you have like a maxed out sarcophagus and you're able to get it on that node, I'm sure that it does a really good job. But I'm not spending anything on those ships at all.
True. My Sarko did crap against the pylon on Friday, but against everyone else, it survived pretty well. Including Kelvin.
Also, stay tuned. Stay tuned for the end of the show when we give you the GoFundMe link to get Cook a decent set of Bluetooth headphones.
Well, I mean, all you got to do is put max charv on any ship, and it'll blow up a sarcophagus. Like, I don't get the whole cloaking thing.
No, I mean Cook made a really good point, right? So the issue with the sarcophagus is, and admittedly, I'm not like fighting maxed out sarcophagus because most people don't do that. But like let's say you have a really formidable one, you have your good crew on there. If you get tagged in just out in space off a node, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. Like it's gonna happen. You're gonna get blown up.
Disco.
So what you have to do is, how do you get it to the node when you warp in? And if you have the ability to cloak it, well, then there you go. You cloak it, go to the node, and then whenever the cloak wears off or whatever the mechanic is, then now you're all set. You're ready to defend the node and all that stuff.
Well, you attack whoever's on the node, and you have that cloaking bonus damage as well. So it gives you an extra boost when you do an attack with that node from the opponent. Also, with the cloaks, when you get onto a node, the cloak deactivates.
Well, either way, it gets you to the fucking node.
Let's make it easier to take a node.
No,
Because
what they're doing is they're trying to justify that shitty ship that they came out with that nobody cared. Nobody, let's face it, there's some people in this game. You could release an avatar that was a picture of a turd, and there are people in this game that would fight, like be jumping over each other to buy a $100 pack for it. Like there are people in this
handy.
they'll buy anything.
That bullshit.
No, handy actually is not. I'll give you the perfect example. When I was in Most, there was a person in Most when I was, many moons ago. There was, every now and then Scopely has like a little glitch type thing. It used to be at event reset, that was when the new arc sort of activated. And now it kind of activates, anywhere between an hour prior up to, event reset whenever they decide to roll it out. So whenever they feel like they're ready, and they never are, but I digress. They go ahead and roll it out. Well, back then, they had a bit of a glitch, and so we were sitting around one morning. It was like a Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it was. We're all sitting around, and they sort of messed up, and they jumped the gun and had released some of the packs with some of these new unique tokens, and we had no idea what they were. All of a sudden, I see somebody in AC. Hey, what are these new tokens in these packs for? Bought 4 of them. That's $400 and didn't even know what the hell buying. Just bought them.
I know. Fucking ridiculous.
And so those people do exist, right? So I say that to say I say that to move on to my original point, which was nobody really did. Once people figured out what the sarcophagus was all about and word got around that it is literally a useless ship except for on a node, nobody.
And even then.
And even then.
During an act.
Yeah. So and even then. You don't need it. Nobody's ever won a TC because of sarcophagus or something. I don't care what you say. I'm sorry that you spent a bunch of money on it or whatever. You could have done different things and won. You don't need it. Like I guarantee you, there's never been like a game-winning scenario where it was like, thank God Jimmy had his sarcophagus or we would not have won. Period. But I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to drive people more to it, to buy it, to get the sarcophagus because it was a flop. And it was kind of one of those it was a huge flop. And so the afterthought was, well,
I don't even care if they like multiply the power by 10. I'm still not building it any further.
It was one of those things like, well, what can we do to try to drive people to purchase additional content? And so that's what they did. They said, well, we'll throw a cloak on it and then it'll be more useful because we suck ass at really actually planning out how these things are going to be used. And so I truly do believe that's what went on. That's why they gave it a cloak, because they're trying to drive people to buy it. And it's working. I've seen people recently spend money on the packs that they came out with where you can get the sarcophagus cloak and all that stuff. People are doing it. So
I'm with Cook. It's not awful. They put a little bit of thought into it. But, because we had tactics and counter tactics. Like a guy like me would roll in with my big ship and I'd kill all of the turds off the toilet bowls.
Look, how often do you have a pivotal, super important TC battle? First off,
Not for a while.
how often?
Not.
Just how often? Once every 6 months? Once a year?
Well, I mean, we had a pretty decent.
I had one on Friday, and I have another one today.
Yeah, I mean, Cook had a really good one the other day when somebody from
I'm talking pivotal, like you've been working for months.
Well, they challenged us for 1v1 tomorrow, or today.
I mean, we've done that twice in the history of TC.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
Yes. So there's been maybe 1 or 2 battles that were like super pivotal for us. And the point is these ships are just not important. They're just not important
No.
at the end of the day.
What would you rather, both of you, what would you rather have on a fucking capture node? Would you rather have a goddamn sarcophagus or an int A?
And hey, of course.
And today, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to.
Because then I can jump off.
If it's a real battle,
I can jump off the node and kill some people if I need to. The fucking Sarco.
like, I like to stay mobile, so I'm not going to put my big ships on the nodes because I need to be mobile in case another whale shows up. I need to jump on them at the warp point before they can get in and do havoc. So
You don't need 6 ships to sit on or to be mobile.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean,
You can park 4 of them on nodes and have 2 mobile
true.
or 3, maybe max.
I usually do 3. 3 is about the limit of ships that I can actively control across multiple PC systems. 3 of them just get ignored. But I got my roster's a little deep, so if I roll in for 6 ships with a TC, I'm rolling in with 6 V4 ships. So
Well, some of us poor people only have 1.
it's not the norm. Not the norm. I understand.
Well, I guess technically I have 2.
But we would do things like I'll roll in, like if we were going to do a takeover or just war, and we wanted to mess them up. I'll roll in and take out all the Sarcos, all the turds, and then go on my merry way. And then my mids would intercept the Sarcos when they tried to get back before they could get on a node and didn't get their ship bonus. So, and just prevent those guys from getting Sarcos back.
Yeah, and they're so slow. Why did they make that ship so slow? I don't understand.
Because in Discovery, it didn't move.
Well,
Maybe they thought it would be too powerful. I think that's what they thought. Oh, it'll be too powerful if you can get on nodes easily. We got to give the other players a chance against this super powerful, awesome ship we designed.
Yeah, but it's not super powerful or awesome.
I've watched it. I've watched a big team, a team with bigger players occupy pretty much every capture node, and they still lost to all the other people with their little ships just flying around.
Oh yeah.
So imagine spending $500 or $600 to max out a sarcophagus only to get beaten by a dude's fucking Rialta floating around really quick with a claw crew or something.
It's sad.
Yeah, there's layers. Everybody has to be. If you have 2 motivated, organized opponents, there's a role for everybody in a takeover. Like I can roll into a TC and I can just start laying waste, but my ship's not that fast. They run, and so
I would really love if they would have some of these. You have your territories that you can capture. But if they had some systems that were like, you could even treat them like Deep Space with you can't see it unless you're there or whatever. But have them where it's just neutral territory where you have different isogen nodes and stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah, there's some stuff they could do. Like I think you want to make TC relevant. Make every week, make one random 1-star territory have like a super buff, like better than a street 3-star. I mean, just the best buff in the game, and it lasts for a week, and it moves every week.
I personally think some of these buffs we have now are way overpowered. I mean, one of the ones we have for our G3 territory, dude, it brought my Valdor up like 400 or 500k. Like that's insanity. I mean, I think that's a little much. That's a bit strong. Like that's
Yeah, but if you don't make it worth it, you won't get any player engagement.
I mean, I don't know. To me, it's sort of disheartening for some of the other people. I mean, there's people in the game that can't get in the territory, and they can't do the research, and that territory research is 100% essential to have an edge. I mean, you have to be able to do that.
Well, they address that. You can get the research now at a far reduced efficiency rate, but
Oh yeah, with the Meridian refine ISO resin or whatever thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Fuck them. To the victor go the spoils of war.
My man said fuck them. Just fuck them. Just
Fuck them.
Whatever, man. Just screw those guys.
I mean, my alliance holds currently 5 of the 6. When I say my alliance, the 4 fleets of my alliance, we hold 5 of the 6 3-stars right now, and our one ally has the 6th. So possibly I'm not your target audience.
Well, fuck them though, right?
Yeah, fuck them. Take it from me, dude. If you take that shit from me, you're gonna get respect. I'm gonna take it back. I'll make but if you could take anything from us, man, you did something special, and we're gonna notice you and go, hey, nice one. It ain't gonna be worth it in the long run, but man, you did some good work there.
You'd be a minor celebrity on a Star Trek server.
What a big deal on the internet.
Right.
On a very small portion of the internet. That's like saying everybody in your neighborhood knows you, but only in this one cul-de-sac. So, anyway.
Anyways, let's get back to what everybody was, what made DJs cringe for a bit, because I want to harp on that note a little more.
Yo.
And that was the disconnect between Digit, Scopely, a third-party customer service, and us, the players, along with content creators. I just made a 6-cornered star, by the way.
Why do I feel like when you say that, it's like the old credit card commercial where it's some Russian dude in Siberia living in his mom's house doing customer support?
Because it's probably true.
Said as much.
Hey, this is Brad. Like, dude, what do you pick a name out of a hat every time you come to work and you're a different person?
I like Chase.
You talk like that's a bad thing.
Hey, this is Tony. This is Jimmy. Hey, you got to be a female today. You haven't been a female in a while. Oh, this is Felicia.
Damn, Felicia.
Like, man. How about the other day? Speaking of customer service, and then we'll get on to what Tech's saying. I'm gonna cry a little bit. They had the domination event, and so I waited about 10 minutes, and I upgraded one ship, for ship experience, which should have covered the entire thing. Never got credit. A bunch of people were upset about it on their Discord, and were like, "Hey, your event's broken." And then, of course, the Klingons that work there, and I don't mean Klingons with a K. I mean Klingons like when you wipe your ass too hard and it sticks to your the toilet paper gets stuck. Those types of Klingons. They're like, "Oh, it's just delayed." And so yeah, I sent in a support ticket, and I was like, "Hey, how about a little something for the effort here? Because it's not working." "Oh, it's delayed, bro." I was like, "No, it's not. It's 6 hours later. That's not a delay at all. That's broken." And I still hadn't gotten the points. And then I never got a response because I'm thinking, hey, it's the weekend. They're not going to respond, right? Because they have odd hours. So I went ahead and did something else, and I sent a message, and I was like, yeah, if you could, just reverse what I did, because I know it's within your power, because I've actually seen you do it before. And they were like, yeah, I don't think we're going to do that. Fuck you, is essentially what they told me. So anyway, I'm sorry. Tech, go ahead. I just needed a little rant moment there.
You broke Tech.
Dead air. Fired.
Tech.
Anyway, Handy was there. Handy, you tell us. Like, I hear Tech ran away. So I hear that you asked a question trying to figure out sort of who does what over there with the STFC crew, and
Yeah, and everybody, well, not everybody, but DJs was like, essentially the sentiment was, how dare we ask how a company is run? Why should we expect Scopely to tell us anything about how they do stuff? Was essentially the sentiment. And I don't know that I really agree with that. I mean, this game's kind of an unusual circumstance. I mean, we've all invested a lot of time and money in this, and I expect a little more out of them.
yes,
personally.
especially for how much money I'm spending and have spent.
I mean, it's like, and I tried to make I've tried to make the analogy before that, it's like you go buy anything from any company that's really expensive, and their customer service is going to be much better.
Oh yeah.
Than the norm, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's been my experience at least, and
Oh.
I'm not feeling that from Scopely.
Or if
That's
you're
all.
buying something higher, maybe not higher dollar, but high volume that equates to high dollars.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, I think, well, no, at least 4 out of 5 of us, I don't know about Occam, but 4 out of 5 of us are business owners or part business owners, and if somebody comes to me and they buy I call it a farm out service, where it's like I kind of have some sort of templates and I customize it a little bit to the individual. But by and large, they follow a very similar sort of tempo, right? So if you get one of those from me, then we'll have a little chat about it, and then that's it. You can't come back later on and be like, oh, well, I need to spend an hour on the phone with you. It's like, no, that's not how that works. You had your chance. This is what it is. You have to pay more money. But if you come to me and you get like a premium where it's a 24/7 monitoring kind of thing, and we're constantly tweaking different parts of your programming, and we're looking at some diet things and stuff like that, well, like you're paying a lot more money. It's a constant thing, so I'm expecting money from you every month, and it's, you know what I'm saying? So you're going to get a lot more from me, and it's a similar thing from this game. It's not like Clash of Clans where I spent $5 for some tokens. Like, I just spent $100 for one officer, one level of one officer. The least you could do is not be an asshole and treat me like I'm crazy for being curious.
I mean, granted, okay, so it's not Scopely that's saying these things, right? They kind of are with their actions. They're basically saying, we don't owe you anything because they don't tell us anything. But
so basically, with the third-party customer service they got, which we've established, they have an FAQ, and if you tell them a problem, they try and find that problem on the list because they don't know anything about the game. And what I've discovered is,
but that's typical for customer no service, and I get that, and I expect that. But
so the next step, the escalation, is if that customer service rep can't find the problem, and through whatever Byzantine criteria that they have, that they feel that it's a legitimate problem, the customer service people can't do anything with our accounts. They have player experience specialists, they're called, and so they escalate the problem to the Scopely or Digit or whoever the fuck, because we can't find out. We're not allowed to know. How dare we? They escalate it to that internal player experience specialist, and they're the ones that actually have the permissions to refund things or put stuff in our account.
Right.
And then above them is the community managers. Is what I've gleaned from my journeys.
I think we should, on a side note, I think we should do a bit of a show about this, and I think we should have our good friend Amorgin on, because I bet Amorgin would have a lot of insight to this.
That's true. We can always ping him. He should be up.
Yeah, see if we can get Amorgin on here. Somebody ping him. I got my hands full right now, so I'm on Bluetooth. I can't really grab my phone, but if somebody could ping him and get him in here, I'm sure that we could get a lot of things sort of clarified from him, and a lot of questions answered, and might not know, but we'll see. I love how you ping him. I was just now able to grab my phone. Amorgin, where the hell are you? Like, why are you not?
He's probably on the toilet doing a TC right now.
Well, he's in Ireland, so it's probably like dinner time.
So, or Final Fantasy on his server, but anyway, yeah. So Handy. It wasn't just DJ that kind of shied you away from that. There was like just other people there that were just like,
oh, he got dogpiled. Handy got dogpiled.
Yeah. Bubba, for example, always is quick to jump on the DJ bandwagon, and I get that.
Who?
And I actually agree with DJs. I don't expect Scopely to answer all my questions. I really don't. But it would be nice to have a little more insight into how they run things. That's all.
Who jumped on the bandwagon?
Bubba Joe, as usual.
Well, DJ was looking for somebody to agree with it. and he pulled up Ripper, and Ripper didn't. It was hilarious. And then so I don't remember if he pulled up Bubba or Bubba jumped in, and then
Bubba jumped in, but like I said, that's normal.
Ripper's probably one of my favorite people in this game.
yeah, much Ripper love.
What I understand is that the community managers actually work directly for Scopely, and customer service does not. And then your intermediary player experts, I think, are also contract at this point.
I don't know. I know they have the power to get stuff done because I had a problem, and I had a serious problem, and customer service was acknowledging it was a problem, but they're like, hey, we gotta get it to this customer. They've been notified, and time was ticking by, and I was about to get screwed because events were going to run out, and I finally had enough, and I found Old Man on the Discord and said, hey, I need some help. This is what's going on. And he was like, whoa, yeah, that's serious. And he got me with Sierra Uniform. Yeah, the two Scopely community managers that I've dealt with, which is mostly Sierra Uniform and Starterbound a little bit, I saw them in that Scopely promotional video. I was like, oh, Sierra Uniform. So clearly they work for Scopely. They were featured in their video.
Well, so on that subject, I could be way off with the numbers, but if I'm not mistaken, Scopely themselves have like less than 30 people in the whole company.
Correct.
I mean, so yeah, like the actual company is like you could go to a dentist's office and they probably have more actual employees on payroll than Scopely.
Yeah, I mean, so they're spread thin, but holy shit, like, do they just...
No, so the point that I'm making is that right there in and of itself is evidence that pretty much everyone you speak to is not Scopely.
Right.
Like pretty much, hey, yeah, I work for Scopely. No, you probably don't. You're probably just some person that works for a different company that's contracted to Scopely for this particular thing. So,
Probably.
I would imagine, and this is speculation, I don't know. I would imagine anything that has to do with coding or game development and design has to do with Digit. And that anything that has to do with maybe securing licensing, marketing, advertising, that type of thing, would probably have to do with Scopely.
Yeah, Scopely is the beneficiary of the IP, and then they license it back out.
DJs has said it kind of sounds like live ops might be Scopely. That might be the part that Scopely has their toes in the tech side.
Maybe.
I've listened to some of that stuff, and I still don't understand those departments. What the fuck is live ops, and what the hell is all the other things that they have?
Well, I mean, live ops is operations. They're keeping the lights turned on. They're implementing the stuff that's coming to them, the battle plan from the runner player experience, whatever. It is murky. I kind of equate the customer service to like when we talked about them not having a lot of employees. Like if you go to the supermarket and it is with people and you're standing in line, you end up standing in line for a rather extended period of time to, buy your beanies and weenies and your condoms. If every checkout, if there's an employee and a bagger and a checker and every stall is open and they're slammed, I can't really fault the store. It's not their fault. They got surged and everybody showed up. They got all hands on deck. They got their staff working, at maximum efficiency. Hey, it's just one of those things. But if there's like,
Yeah, and if that's an occasional thing, it's okay. But if it's year after year after year, you're probably going to go somewhere else under normal circumstances.
True,
But unfortunately, we've bought into this, and we can't shop at any other grocery stores.
Well, my point was going to be if I'm standing in this huge line and they've only got 3 cashiers and they've got 15 closed, checkout stalls, and the reason there's only 3 open is because, they made the choice to go so lean on staff to save money. I'm like, hey, the fact that you didn't have enough people on staff is on you. Now the shitty customer service experience is on you because you decided to run so lean to save money that you make me not want to shop here, I will go somewhere else. But whereas, like I said, if they're packed and they've got every cashier smoking, it's like, I can't really hold their feet to the fire too much on that. They didn't know this many people show up, and they physically can't get another cashier out.
I will note that customer service is actually very good now about returning Armada directives and commendation badges, which you didn't mean to buy.
Yes, yes. The basic things they've definitely gotten to where they need to be.
They've had a lot of practice.
Yeah, they have. And there was one time it was funny. It was actually about a month ago or whatever. Whenever the not this past Rogue Armada event in between arcs, but the last one. There was at one point where I ran Armada at the same time, and I told them, but I had forgotten to send the screenshot, and they just refunded it. They're like, "Oh, sorry about that. Here you go." Like they didn't even have proof. I just said, "Hey, this is what happened," and they refunded it.
Well, yeah, because at some point it's easier just to go, here you go, instead of verify. I mean, that just tells you right there that they're too busy. They got too much going on and they need more help.
I mean, they've acquired all sorts of studios. I think they bought something from Disney not too long ago, and so they're definitely trying to. They're definitely obviously expanding, right? But it's like, what are you doing? Because the same problems are still exist. So what are you doing to rectify these issues?
That's what happens when you don't know what's going on with them. They're secretive. I mean, I made some analogies a podcast or two ago about EVE Online, and that was one of the things that led significantly to their players revolting on them, and was they had a very successful game. The revenue was high, and they wanted to develop all of these other properties. So they were using their flagship product, which was EVE Online, and taking the revenue from that to fund all of these other projects, thinking those were all going to be hits and were even revenue. And for the players, you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't care about this stupid thing you're doing. And instead of investing that revenue back in the game that I'm actually playing, you're trying to make a fucking animated movie over here or a first person shooter or whatever. How about improving the game that I'm actually playing?
No, that's too much effort.
And that would make sense. You just can't do that.
I mean, that's their goal in life. They're here to make money. They got to make payroll. I'm sure they have shareholders they have to please. But protect your cash cow. Don't exploit it.
Of course. And if people want, and all that being said, I think the point you might be getting to is, all that being said, if people want to know what's going on your end, then why don't you be a little more forthcoming? I mean, lots of people have quit for those kind of reasons.
This exact scenario that Scopely has going on play out with Bungie. When I was a Destiny fanatic for many a year, and they did the exact same stuff Bungie did. They were terrified to talk to the player base. They muzzled their community managers. They played I Got a Secret. They wouldn't advertise stuff far out, and they only wanted to deal with a limited number of content creators, and that was the only interaction. Everything had to be filtered through them. And then they had some rough road, and they had a change in leadership, and this guy just started the new CEO, Game Runner, whatever, that fucking dick just started writing. He wrote like a goddamn 7-page letter, and he's like, we tried to do that. This was our commander's intent. We wanted to do this. This is what happened. We know you're upset about it. We changed it. That upset some people. These were the reasons why this was the original situation. This is why we did what we did. These were the unintended consequences of what we did. We had to fix it, and that's why we fixed it. And we realized that's unpopular, but you have a right to know why we did these things or why we're going to do these things. And then they just started producing their own in-house kind of content creation. where the community managers and internal people from the company presented the things a month, 3 months out, and talked directly to the player base. And it was turn the game around, turn the community that played the game, which was very social. Destiny was with Bungie, around. And so I've seen another successful big company do exactly what Scopely's doing before, and where the pitfalls are. And I've seen a company change and turn it around and see the massive gains that they got.
Right.
It reminds me of a nice Amorgin story about Star Trek Fleet Command, where you know those podcasts they put out, the Commanders podcasts or whatever. You guys know what I'm referring to?
No. What's that?
So every once in a while, highly irregularly, you have the community manager. At the time, it was Panic, and then I think Ares did one or two, where they put out a podcast about questions from the community or some shit like that, right? And this is going way back. And Amorgan listening to this content, and then one of the question goes, "Why is the research tree horizontal and not vertical?" And the guy, I can't remember who the guy was, but he starts explaining, oh, you know, the layout and how cool it looks and all this shit. And Amorgan like messages Panic. He's like, who in the fucking mind, who in their fucking right mind from the community would ask a question like this? Nobody, and I mean nobody, gives a shit why something is horizontal versus vertical. I mean, absolutely nobody. And then it was revealed later that that particular question, out of questions from the community, was actually from one of the internal people at Scopely who wanted to talk about the layout of the game or some dumb reason.
Yeah, that tracks.
No, I remember that because it was a big deal. People are like, they're not even answering the questions from the community; they're just making up their own shit.
Right.
Well, no wonder they stopped doing it.
They are clearly terrified to interact with the community directly.
I just don't understand why.
Well, I mean, you need some structure, otherwise it'll be a free for all.
If you were selling a fraction of a ship for $100, you'd be terrified as well.
A small fraction of a ship, yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense that they don't want to interact directly because there would be so many complaints that, you know, they it would just cause them to recede further into their shell, right? But there could be a lot of good in a more controlled setting with, you know, even the content creators, the official content creators, like screening the proper questions that would benefit people and kind of holding Scopely to the fire. Oh, here's Amorgan. I think that would be more beneficial to the Bungie sense as opposed to, you know, just doing what they're doing. Because remember way back when DJs used to have a segment where it would be the state of the game or whatever with Panic. And now I haven't heard anything like that for months. Anyways, Amorgan, welcome to the stage, buddy. How you been?
I'm alright. How are you? Can you hear me alright?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got you, bud.
Haven't been playing that fucking piece of shit game in about 3 weeks.
I don't blame you.
We figured for sure you were sitting on the toilet doing a TC defense when you got pinged.
No, time for a break from it, lads, you know. I've been logging into the new shields and just checking shit, but fuck, I've been great not being near it for a while. Like, haven't checked this new content at all, so that's kind of why I popped in to listen in here and see what you are saying about it.
You heard it here first. Scopely broke Amorgan.
Fucking, they broke me a long time ago, boy. But like a good racehorse, they broke me, you know, that kind of way.
No, we were discussing not so much the new content because it sucks, but we were discussing the structure between Scopely, Digit, and their third-party customer service, and I was wondering if you know or understand kind of like the links between the two, and or shed some light on it.
Yeah, well, like, listen, I'm not close enough to some of those things to say hand on heart with absolute certainty, but from having been around the lot of them, like from having been around Digit and all of them before Scopely came along and stuff, I have a fair sense of how it seems to be. And I'd safely say Digit have actually nothing to do with the upfront kind of delivery, customer service, rollout of the product, all of that kind of stuff. I'd say Digit stay a million miles away from it. Really, I'd say Digit's role is more, they're the kind of the guys that are down in the coal mining the coal, so all you fuckers can keep your arses warm, that kind of way. Like, they're the guys that, to my mind, that are on the ground. Now, I'm sure there's one or two management type assholes around that does nothing but kiss Scopely's ass, but to my mind, the Digit guys are the guys. They designed the game. They're the ones that were put under pressure to modify it to kind of suit the Scopely model, and they're the ones who continue to kind of build the stuff that you get to see. I'm sure there are others in other parts of the world that are doing, design and all of that kind of stuff as well, but the guys at Digit, really, I don't think they have an awful lot to do with.
Yeah, but are they getting told exactly what to do with the game by Scopely?
I'd say it's like the way the business world works anywhere. You've got a company who went in and swam with the big fish and done a decent enough job to get picked up by a parent company, if you like. So they still have responsibility for delivering on their product, the same way that the company that does The Walking Dead will have to deliver on their product, or Yahtzee, or any of these other Scopely games. There'll be a team that are there to direct Digit as to what Scopely want, but I would safely say that that Digit are left. It's like any of these things. I'd say Digit are left listening to what the players are saying, wanting to deliver on certain things, because some of these are sci-fi nerds, and these guys are geeks that sit in an office and design and fucking
people that can relate to us.
Yeah, so
understand where we're coming from, and really probably respond to our feedback in a much better way.
Yeah, by and large, you're on the ball with that, except for the part where they'd be allowed to respond to your feedback. I doubt any of them want to step forward into the spotlight.
That's the disconnect. That is the whole problem. That's kind of really one of the main premise of my argument with DJs, is that there's such a disconnect there that we don't feel heard and we don't feel like anybody gives a shit about what we're saying. That's all.
Right? Yeah, like I done a video way back on, you mentioned the customer service end of it as well. Done a couple of videos on their customer service where I focused in on, on what is, you'll see at the bottom of your thing, it's powered by Help Shift. So I done a bit of digging around. It's not hard. Anybody can do it. You'll see what Help Shift do. Help Shift are a company that are utilised by many different online businesses at the moment, just to deal with the volume of traffic in terms of complaints coming in or whatever it might be. But in doing that bit of research and that bit of digging, I went back to before Star Trek Fleet Command was launched globally. At the time of when, I suppose, The Walking Dead was their premium kind of IP that they were putting out there. And there was, anybody who's done their homework on this knows that The Walking Dead suffered huge, more probably in its if you go back chronologically over the key times of its age and where it's been, it's probably suffered bigger upheavals and bigger traumas than we have in Star Trek Fleet Command. If you can imagine that, they've suffered worse as a community than we have. But, I brought it back to a reasonable standard now from what I understand. But Star Trek Fleet Command was on the cusp, if you like, of coming out. And there were a lot of these kind of, conferences or whatever they'd be, where people from Scopely and whoever else would be there. There'd be mobile gaming industry, there'd be console gaming, all these different people would be out to kind of pitch their products, and this is the model we're using and this is how we're working. So everybody would give a presentation, and I covered some of that in a couple of videos that I'd done where former employees, the full presentation is available, and you can see how they manage their games. They're very open about it because they're pitching this model to fellow gaming industry nerds and executives in some cases. So these guys are up against their peers showing what they do differently and how they do it differently. And they have a pyramid structure and, all of these kind of things that they're very open about. And it reveals a little bit, to me anyway, it reveals a little bit about how Scopely themselves, they kind of throw certain employees in at the deep end and say, that's your job. A bit like they did with Panic, I suppose. That's your job. Sort that out. And really, it's a thankless job because they don't really care about any real results. They just care about what it looks like in the graph at the end of the year, right? Do we have an acceptable level of customer appreciation that we can kind of get away with it? And we come in off the back, remember, of The Walking Dead, and they suffered huge fucking rebellions from the players, like properly organized boycotts and things like this that only the Star Trek Fleet Command people ever really talked about. Never really happened. Walking Dead had massive player rebellions against the game where they forced Scopely to kind of take notice. And I think coming off the back of that, they've done everything that they could to avoid Star Trek Fleet Command turning into that and turning the same way, because of course we have a lot of Star Trek nerds who, every bit as much as Walking Dead fans, maybe more so, demanded better and still demand better. We still are sitting here probably having conversations about what the hell has that got to do with the Star Trek universe, or why the hell can't I cloak my ship when I want? Why haven't I got the ability to, I don't know, do a landing party or whatever, that stuff that's typical of Star Trek. People get over it. It's a mobile game. We don't expect an awful lot. 3 years ago, we were talking about how there's a profit-making machine, and if you're expecting a real proper Star Trek experience, you probably should go to Star Trek Online or something like that, because this ain't it.
Yeah, pretty true.
I don't think me personally, I don't know who I speak for, but I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same, that I don't really expect it to all match up with Star Trek, or it has to be canon, or it has to be that. Like, I don't care so much as I care about giving feedback about things that are totally fucked up in this game and not working right, and having it fixed in a timely manner, or at least being acknowledged in a public manner. And then communication in the respect that, hey, when things are broken, like, tell us, you know what I mean? Like, when they know, we should know. Like,
Can you give me an example?
I think what he's thinking about.
Like broken officers would be a good example, I think, Amorgin.
Yeah.
Officers that have been broken for years.
Or like, for example, when they actually changed Chen and Talon to not work under or to not work over level 51, and then they didn't let anybody know, or other some of the fixes that they have that just like they just slid under the radar. I can't remember.
Yeah, but let's face it, they never slide under the radar. I mean, this is a community, like any community is going to have your diehards that are going to really pay attention to everything, and you're not sliding anything under the radar. When they nerfed some of the ships back in the day, same day, right after the freaking reset, like an hour later, people were realizing it, and they were going, why did you do it? And then they released a statement. I mean, never in the history of this game have they ever nerfed something or boosted something where people didn't find out if they didn't acknowledge it. So it's
I meant to try to be sly about it without actually acknowledging it. Like, for example, the cap, the 4.4 billion cap. After a while, they're like, oh yeah, you're not getting any more rep, or the 1,500 cap a day, shit like that. Like, they never advertise it, or they never say this.
no, yeah, and that's my point. Like, never in the history of ever have they ever, quote unquote, gotten away with doing anything. It always comes to the surface. Somebody always figures it out. And then there's always this haphazard, slapped together message about what's going on. It's like you already know that people are going to figure it out. And if you think otherwise, then whoever came up with that idea needs to be fired. Like, come on, man. Like, we're gonna know.
Even when they do something positive, they don't. Like when they redid how burning procs to allow it to overwrite its proc, like Paul does. That was a pretty good. That was a damn good shot in the arm for burning to address some of the burning problems. Didn't say a word. Jesus Christ, hire a guy, give him a trumpet, and let him sing from the rooftops. You finally did something good.
Or like Or when they removed the Rialto burn.
Well, that was kind of one of the only times they really did address it. They got out in front of it.
I think they kind of rely on their community managers a little too much. Well, the problem with that is not everybody listens to the community managers. Not everybody is plugged into the community like that, you know? And I mean, of course, they do their little bug fixes or whatever, you know, when they release new content and there's, you know, they release things, information that way, sure. But
I think they should rely on their community managers even more than they already do. But in order for them to be effective, they have to empower them. And I don't feel like they do.
I mean, they're all full of shit. All of the people that they have, you know, where it directly relates to, and I'm just talking about the community manager, but you talk about people that moderate on Discord or people that are representatives, they're all full of shit. You know, people post up issues, and you'll have 10 people post up issues, and they'll respond to the simplest one and say, we respond to the issues. No, you don't. You pick and choose who you talk to and what issues you address. And, you know, it's ridiculous. You're not answering the questions that need to be answered. You're answering these one-offs that are really easy for you to answer, and you'll get a positive response from that. But then you have 10 other people asking the same question. Hey, what about this? It's not working. And you just refuse, you ignore it.
I've never really spent any time on the official Scopely Discord.
So we're going to organize a revolt.
I mean, first we would have to come up with clear, very, very clear objectives and what we would like to see improved before you.
So I think a protest or revolt or whatever would be extremely difficult because they've got everybody penny packeted away in servers all over the place instead of
right
a game that has, you know, a large persistent world game where you're all in one server.
Oh yeah.
Or in a couple of servers.
Yeah.
And
there's a very easy solution to this, lads. The very easy solution if you want to get heard.
Stop spending.
No, let people spend, because you're not going to stop them getting spent. Like, you control the things you're in control of, right? None of us are in control of how much people spend, how much they engage with the game, blah blah blah. And Scopely will always, they'll always have enough to be able to ignore the naysayers and the whingers. Every moderator, every employee, if they're getting a hard time and they're going through stress, they're going to turn around and go, I don't want to listen to your gripe about your fucking that officer not working because I've got other shit that I need to deal with in this company right now or in my job right now, right? I've seen it with Panic before, where he'd been all the best in the world ready to listen, but the shit he's dealing with, he doesn't really want to know too much about the smaller stuff that isn't, like, he's firefighting that much that he doesn't want to get, he's no time to get proactive with the other stuff, right? But one thing that did get their attention, it didn't work. It worked to a degree, but it didn't work in terms of sustainability. And that's you need to go out and do your community panel. You need to, you're already doing it to a degree on your various different podcasts, but everything is identified as, that's one content creator who's out trying to make a name for themselves or out trying to build a channel or a profile. And that always fucked with what I was trying to do. Because unfortunately I was identified as somebody who was a rival to the content creators that were out there. We were all vying for the same space, whereas I wasn't vying for any space with them. What I wanted to do was get the people together who were prepared to speak up and do a regular thing where it's not about my channel is ignored because the players know we're there. That's your answer. Unfortunately, you've got DJs, Deuce and all of these guys that have established themselves now into their various niches, and we have nobody who is controversial or is willing to call them out on stuff in an open and transparent way. Like, you guys will do it, I know Kirk will do it, and the Fireside guys will do it, and different people will do it, but it's all being done in your own kind of wee niche. You need a collective thing. You need people who spend money, whales, all of these people coming in and saying together and identifying it as representative of the wider community, as opposed to, well, this is for your server or this is for your channel.
You know, Amorgin, Handy he's all the time in DJ's show, and DJ several times has spent time, and the other day spent about 2 or 3 solid minutes gassing us up and mentioning every one of us by name and telling them to go check out our podcast. So, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think that it's almost like DJs, and and I could be wrong, so anybody listening to it, I'm not speaking for him. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't really speak to him very often. But it's almost like he knows that there's things he can't say, and then for the things that he can't say, he not silently, but sort of low key suggests that people come listen to us.
That's correct. I would agree.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, oh, everything's great. You should go check these people out. They're really awesome. And the thing that he leaves out is that obviously we're openly critical of freaking everybody, actually, but especially
because we're monkeys in the tree, shitting our hands thrown in it. Go, please.
Yeah, but the thing is that what it does is people you can't say, nobody could point a finger at him and say, oh, that's a bad move, because to be honest, what he's doing, he's promoting community, right? He's promoting community. He's promoting openness, if not so much on his show because it's an officially sanctioned show. He's promoting the openness. He's promoting that sense of community. Everybody get together. Let's all support one another and listen to everybody's content and all this stuff. But he's doing it in a way where people can't accuse him of being critical. He's just saying, hey, I didn't say they were right or wrong. I'm just saying that they have this show and they do a good job at what they do. I didn't say that they were correct in everything they said. So you get plausible deniability, but you also, he's able to use that very large platform to sort of help spread the word about what we say. And I think I can speak for all three of us here that we're extremely grateful for that sort of publicity that it gives us.
Absolutely.
I've always believed that he has to walk a razor's edge with his content in order to maintain the inside track he has with Scope.
I don't know how he does it. I would.
He's a radio veteran. I mean, he's done this for 20 years, so you learn a trick or two, being in the industry. We just have no filter. That's why we're here, and not on this show.
Yeah, I
put the last 12 seconds on DJ's stage.
I'm super surprised every day that we have the amount of people that listen to us that we do. I never thought that. I think when Tech and I started this, I think we just thought it was something fun to do and, get a few people to listen. And now, I mean, we have, I don't know, Tech has the metrics over all the platforms because now we're on all the podcast platforms now. But, back in the day with YouTube, I remember when we had like a video that reached 300 views. I was like, Jesus, like that's kind of cool. When you consider our real big target audience at the time was just our server. You get to 300 people out of one server to listen to a program, and that's a pretty significant amount of people for your population size, your sample size.
And don't forget, this is also a news and science podcast.
It is. We talk about all kinds of stuff, but obviously, we found that our target market was, STFC players.
Well, what do you use at now, Kirk, in terms of an average view on the video? What would you get, or average listenership, or like, what can you reasonably expect when you put out content?
You'd have to ask Tech, because I can't. Now that we are on all the platforms and different people listen to, Anchor, and we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on all that stuff, so people listen to it in different ways. So you'd have to ask Tech.
Yeah.
I would say every video gets, or any release gets anywhere between like 200 and 600 views overall.
When you log in after a week of new content, you can reasonably expect 300 or 400 views.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay, so what I'm saying to you is there's more, right? What I'm saying to you is I don't know if you can reposition this podcast to fit the thing that I'm talking about. I don't know if it takes somebody new coming in, if it takes me trying to get back at it, or somebody, Johnston, or like I don't know, like I don't know who does it or what way it is. Maybe you guys, maybe it becomes the fireside chat. Maybe that's where it's at. I don't know, but one thing is absolutely certain, right? Is you're dealing with a monster of a company here who doesn't need to listen to you, me, or anybody else, right? You need to get their attention. The way I have gotten their attention in the past is by being aggressive, right? Pulling no punches, saying the things that aren't necessarily popular, and being personal about it sometimes, naming employees and saying, this is the man responsible. And they don't like that, right? Unfairly, maybe sometimes. Panic took a lot of unfair criticism from me at times and whatever else, and he didn't deserve it all at times. But That was my style. It was a case of like, you will listen to me. I'm not giving you a choice here. I will be listened to. That works to a degree. The plan for me always was that eventually somebody would come along who can do a better job than what I can do, and then I can kind of retire a wee bit and just enjoy myself. Because once you guys have probably felt it yourselves, that once you start getting into the territory of speaking for the community, speaking for players, there's a lot of fuckers. You'll get a lot of DMs. There's a lot of people will want their issue raised, the issue on their server, the issue on that they're having, and that's fine. Plenty of content in that week to week if you're bringing in people from different servers, and you guys have done it very, very well. But the thing about DJ is DJ doesn't cover it all. In my book, he doesn't cover it all. He covers as much as he can because he's one man. He's in pole position for that. But he's one man. He's got a team around him, and they all try to toe the line to a degree and have to find creative ways to say what they want to say, without burning bridges or damaging connections that they've got, and that's fully understandable. But what I'm saying to you is, there's another niche out there that I feel hasn't been filled fully since I stopped doing what I was doing. And that's that niche there that claims to represent the wider community in its entirety. And claiming to do that by being very open to taking anybody in to talk, not just the same people all the time, any new faces that want to come in. Yous guys are doing that, but yous have created your own niche. I don't know, like I say, if you can be repurposed to that and see any growth out of that. I don't know if you want to do that. I certainly wouldn't tell you that you have to do that, or anything. You're doing great as you are. But there's a big community out there that I believe that would love an opportunity to come to your show or DJ's show for that matter, except DJ isn't going to take a lot of them and say this is what needs done in the game. And people are doing that already. It's just you don't have that reputation yet of being the ones that are challenging Scopely. That you come and find your voice here. This is the place for you. You just do your thing, you get on with it, and it's fine. And you are vaguely associated with DJ. There's a little bit of you scratch my back, I'll scratch your stuff going on, and that's all great. But DJ is certainly, like, the reason that, let me be straight, like, the reason why DJ's content is still popping up on my Discord channel is because DJ is the only one out there in my book that is anywhere close to representing the community. He still doesn't do it fully. I'm sure he'll acknowledge that there's certain things he just can't cover. He doesn't have the time anyway. But there's room in this game for you guys or somebody else to come out and be the outspoken kind of piss-taking fuckers that I know yous are. I know a lot of people out there. Like, there's a lot of people that came on and done content on my channel. I don't hear from them anymore. Some of them have quit. Some of them are still about and they're just quiet. Guys like Captain Mark Red Angel there, like Captain Mark is showing up and he's giving his voice about in the community and he's starting to get known. That's great. Guys like Anicius, Spork, there are lots of guys out there that I presume are still playing that are very vocal and spend no small amount of money. So I still believe that there's opportunity out there, lads, to get Scopely's attention in that aggressive kind of we will be listened to way. You won't ignore us, and you ignore us at your peril because we're talking to the community. We're speaking to people all the fucking time, and we are identifying ourselves as the ones that will say it as it is, whether Scopely likes it or not. And there's no politics here. It's pure aggressive. And unfortunately, to do that, you have to stop worrying about how many views you get, how many people are listening to you, and you have to strike it lucky a little bit by getting the right people that are gonna hit the nail on the head. And sometimes it's the event, sometimes it's when the game, they make a fuck up and everybody's animated for a temporary period of time. You capitalize on that. I just feel there's a gap there. You guys fill it to a degree. I believe there's room for more.
I don't think I've ever been worried about how many views the show gets. This is a place where people come to bitch.
Yeah, I personally don't give a shit how many views we have.
I'm curious.
As long as the people that are here enjoy.
I'm curious, Amorgin, in your journeys, did you ever get realistic or solid pushback from Scopely where they were hearing your voice, and it clearly made them uncomfortable, and they were like, "Hey, how do we get you to tone it down?" Did you encounter anything like that?
Oh, he left again. In our conversations, yeah, he did. He was definitely told to fucking shove it, man.
Sorry, I'm on the phone here, lads, so the connection's not great. Can you hear me all right now?
Yep.
Yeah. So I got private messages from at least 2 Scopely employees, basically telling me that the way I was doing things wasn't working. That like I was called Gordon Ramsay. I created.
You're fading. You're faded.
I'm hanging on his every word.
Go please hacking his connection right now.
Oh my God, Scopely's pulling the plug on Amorgin. Well, you heard it here, folks.
Really, Digit's got the tech skills, and they're geographically closer. Scopely's finally let the taking the handcuffs off Digit.
It ain't fucking Scopely, man. It's Digit silencing Amorgin.
Yeah, National Security Agency are listening in, lads, and they're at the Scopely's beck and call here. So, no, I was saying I did get messages telling me that I wasn't helping, right? That there were people in the trenches who were trying their best, and I wasn't helping because morale was already very low, and that I should change my approach because it was adversely affecting the morale, right? That to me said I was being listened to. I also then got a message from another employee that was telling me that why I wasn't enjoying certain privileges the way other content creators were on their official forums, and telling me that basically the bad language and the attitude, just it wasn't a nice attitude, and they don't support anybody who if they basically can't be nice about it, right? Which is ultimately what DJ is doing. DJ exploited that space that Scopely were very, very keen on, because they knew what was possibly out there. Like, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I honestly think that I frightened of the people. It's not even just me. It's the people that I was putting around me were prepared to be vocal enough and back me up when I was being vocal, that they seen the potential for a monster here. There was a monster growing, and this monster didn't play ball. This monster wouldn't listen, and was too close to what was going on to be ignored. Was hearing things, was getting inside information from people, right? So once I had a stream of inside information, once I had people who were close to the inside, once I had smart people around me, they say that thing about you surround yourself with smart people. Like, once I had smart people around me who kind of knew what they were doing, people like Thaler Harmer, people like, other ones that I don't want to name, but people say, for example, in my alliance, like Phil-Luc Picard or whatever, and others that I don't want to name, people were able to, the ones that I won't name are the people who fed me information, right? The likes of Thaler wasn't close enough, but he knew the industry. The likes of Phil was in close, but Phil wasn't going to jeopardize the role that he was in, so he would never kind of breach the rules and say anything to me. But I could always use Phil as a guide for if something I had done got attention or not, right? So Phil would be able to say, "What the fuck have you done now?" Because there would be chatter somewhere that he would encounter over something that's been said or something that's been done. Now, bear in mind, I was coming along at a time where there was openings for people. But I think because I was a slippery fish for them, they were hell bent on getting people signed up that they had control over, which was Deuce and then ultimately DJ and a few others. And once these people played ball, and once they were willing to toe the line and give the Scopely narrative to a degree and not be abrasive like I was being, they were happy with them. And what happened then was they heavily promoted. It gave Panic some leverage to say, we need to be able to promote our content creators. We need to be able to build this community. And like, part of the thing I had said to Panic was, like, Panic, use me as a tool to get more resources for the community, because if you start getting what we're demanding, then I can start to shut up and you can show that it's working. He didn't really see it like that because I was slagging him off too. But it gave Scopely the opportunity then when the little in-game view screen where you click on the content creators, they promote the content creators inside in the little view screen. It allowed them to remove me from there and put their chosen people in there and heavily then promote on their social media channels and things that there's DJ or there's Deuce and check this out and check that out. So gone were the days then of where Amorgin would get something posted on their Facebook page or whatever. And there were times that they did do this for me, and I wasn't NDA'd, but they were scrambling around for content creators at that time. And then when they got their men into them jobs, like DJ, Deuce and whoever, it allowed them to sideline and isolate then anybody else that was around. The difficulty was there were people out there in the community who already identified people like me or Admiral Jansen as outspoken and non-conformists or whatever. So you're looking at, people who are on the inside like DJ and people like me then who are still talking to each other. The likes of DJ and Deuce will know full well the sort of stuff I'm talking about. They might not always approve of how I went about things, but I was never about what them gays are about. I was about having fun. I was about winding the thing up a wee bit and having the crack, and meeting good people and slagging Scopely off and having a laugh. A little bit like what you guys are doing yourselves. That was really the only reason for doing it. But there were those things like those messages I received and other stuff then just generally from the community that made me realise there was somebody paying attention, as I'm sure there's somebody paying attention to your podcast. I'm sure of it, right? The thing you mentioned earlier, though, about the communication, is the information being, I suppose, is it going down the chain? Is it getting to the people that it needs to get to? And I don't know if that communication thing has ever been solved by Scopely. What we had done back in the day was made sure we were heard. Had a lot of people on different servers who were banging that drum, making demands, and they had a platform with me to vocalize that. But they were going back and kind of rallying their alliances and giving out, and the people on their server saying listen, we have the equivalent with you guys would be you've got somebody say on server 50, and somebody on server 50 comes onto your podcast and they're talking to you, and they're not just there for one visit. They're there because they're going to be regularly in communication with you and expecting that when they go back to server 50, they'll be saying, we've got Techman and Kirk's podcast here. We're going to use this here as a platform to give out about the shite that we don't like on server 50, right? And it's not just for one visit to give an overview of what's happening and then move on to the next one. That there's always that opportunity for them to come on and say, this is what's going on server 50, this is what I'm hearing from the different servers of the people I'm talking to. And it becomes genuinely representative then, because everybody feels like it's for them. It's not just to touch base and give a review of how they're getting on. It's like every week it's possible for them to come in and say, what about this piece of shit? What about that? Now you've got that crew there, but to my, it's not a criticism, but yous are very insular in terms of a lot of yous come from the same servers. Yous have been together for a while. Yous have talked to an awful lot of people from a variety of different servers that are out there, but they don't come back as regulars often enough. When I check in, it's all the same phase. There's a lot of guys now sitting in and listening, right? Every one of them guys should be stepping up here and giving an opinion. Every one of them should be putting their hand up to want to talk in here and be given an opportunity on the stage. But the way it's gone, the way Discord has created, we've got stages now and people can just sit and lurk and listen. Back when I was doing it, people came in to chat. Everybody that could talk. You had no kind of control over who was there or who wanted to say what or anything, So that's a challenge in a way. It suits doing the podcast style thing fine, but it's a challenge in a way of getting people who are just going to speak up and come back. Anybody who's in your show here that's listening and somebody's just put their hand up there, anybody that's there should feel like there's a place to talk. That can never be the case on DJ's channel, ever. I don't know if Rev Deuce's ego will allow him to share the spotlight with anybody, really. So you guys are where it's at for me right now. With Fireside there as a kind of an alternative. I'm sure there are other people out there doing content, but I wouldn't bother with any of them. I'm not even playing the game that much at the minute. But I'd still check in, see what you guys are saying and what you guys are doing, because I know that's where I'm going to get the unsanitized version of what people are saying. Simply here, when I popped in here, somebody saying we're not going to talk about the new content because it's a load of shite. I'm going, great. I'm not missing much. If you guys had turned around and said, it's fucking amazing, Amorgin, you want to see what they've done with this, it's bloody amazing, then I'd be raging, because I'd be going, fuck, I'd better log into that game tonight. And I don't feel like I have to do that now, so that's great, right? But I just feel like people like me and Admiral Jansen and a few others out there, we done more to put DJ and Deuce and these guys where they are, because it had to be anybody but us. It had to be anybody but them fuckers like Amorgin and Admiral Jansen and ones they got there. The difference in me and Jansen, I would say, was Jansen early went, you know what, fuck these cowboys, there's a million other games out there to be played, I've got my community, I'm going to share playing Marvel fucking superheroes, whatever the fuck that it is, with them. and good luck to Scopely. He done that a lot earlier than I did.
Marvel's pretty good, I gotta admit.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. We got late to the party here. Late to the party. Because he's from server 50. So I think you called him out.
There you go. That's fucking prophetic there.
He does Cloaks.
Late, you here? You're muted. Anyways, that was really funny. You said server 50, and then here's a server 50 guy that shows up, and we can't hear you. I want to unmute yourself, or you moved your phone sideways.
Just while you're waiting to get him back there, I just want to talk about some things there. Like I suggested a few ideas here to some of the lads just for the crack. But if I had got positive feedback, I'd have been up for doing this kind of stuff, right? And that's like turning up at Digit headquarters. Like, it's 2 hours away from where I am. Some of the lads, it's only maybe 30 minutes. From the lads are in my alliance. I'd have absolutely no problem. Like, I remember joking with Octo. Some of you might know Octo from the original LCRs and all that. I remember joking with Octo.
Hey, I'm here.
Are you here late?
I'm here. Apparently, I just stuck at life.
Good man.
Oh, I heard server 50.
So I'm just saying to the lads that there's room there, I think, for turning up at Digit headquarters and having a party on the fucking street in front of their offices, or trying to get in and meet them, and and just being that little bit kind of more aggressive if you want to be heard. So,
You pay Digit. I love it.
Anyways, late to the party, man. Welcome to the stage. How you doing?
Oh, just another day in paradise. Another Sunday off in New York. Did you all see the wonderful leaderboard I posted in chat a little while ago?
Yeah, I think it got deleted though for some reason.
Let me look. No, I still see it, right? But
Oh no, I see it. Yeah, there it is.
if we're bagging on Scopely, right? So this dumb TC event, my alliance, well, really not my alliance, me, since I'm in charge, and it's kind of a dictatorship. I said, screw it, we're gonna drop a territory, and if it touches us, we're gonna try to take it. Like, win, lose, whatever. At least we're actually doing some PvP, because my server's full of a bunch of farmers. So we're actually in it. We have the opportunity to take first, because the number 1 and number 3 alliance are done. They've got each like 1 TC left. We've got like 8, which is mind-numbingly retarded. I don't want to do 8 more. But then yesterday, our number, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 alliance, and they didn't do it. It's not like they're gaming the system. Magically got like 150,000 points from nowhere, which is not possible. Like, you can't score that many points. Like, you'd have to be in every single TC the entire event. And we also completed our server milestones, all like the last 4 of them, all at once. And do you think customer service has answered anything? Nope. Crickets. Which sucks, because alliances who were hunting for, well, maybe I want to make sure I'm in the top 10, or maybe I have a chance for 3rd. Why would they just, you look at that and go, I'm done.
That's great. Yeah, because I think on our server we have 1 alliance, and they're kind of an annoying alliance, but they joined almost every single takeover, and just by joining every takeover, they get all the points, right? So they were like number one on the leaderboard for a long time, just for joining every single TC.
But even then, they're probably sitting at like 60 or 70,000 points.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I could look it up.
There's only so many because unless you touch, you can only join the 1-star territories, and there's only like 20 of them or something. There's not, so.
But if you timed it right and there was a 2-star right after a 1-star,
You could
win the 1-star and then you take the 2-star, drop them both, move on next.
Oh yeah, we've got a whole spreadsheet of what is the most efficient way for us to, what do we have to drop so that we can then take, participate in the most amount of takeovers. And people get kind of pissed. They're like, well, why are you showing up to, you're just gonna, it's just points. You don't need to fight. I'm like, well, why wouldn't we fight? If I paid for the fight, I'm going to show up and fight.
Well, you might as well, because if you win, you get more points.
Right. Exactly. And if I lose, whoop-de-doo, I had fun.
Right.
So we've already done, I think it will be in a total of like 15 takeovers in 2 weeks, or in 1 week, that's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
on server 34, there's two.
And the rewards do not match up the effort.
On our server, there's 2 alliances that have never owned a TC that are on top of the leaderboards with like almost 81,000 points.
Yeah.
But to be fair, all the top alliances all talked and decided, you know what? Let them have it, because we just weren't that into the event.
And I think I was able to get a little bit of motivation, because it's kind of nice to win a leaderboard, because we're like the number 7 or 8 alliance, depending on who has more miners out, we're just neck and neck with the other, and they're our allies, so they're good guys. But winning a leaderboard, I mean, sometimes we'll hit 5, or but we never win a leaderboard. But we're not doing this again twice in 1 month. Just like, no, it's way too much work for. Ooh, I get some particles. Like, it's not whoop-de-frickin' do.
Yeah.
I mean, the Metreon particles are nice because we don't have a 3-star territory, but whoop-de-frickin' do.
And I think they kind of designed this event around that. They were hoping to get smaller mid-ranged alliances involved in TC, which I think is great.
But it's not like they want it.
Yeah,
You guys, have you guys gotten anybody come to you yet, or on the channel there, saying that they're enjoying it, this is working for them? Is there any servers out there that people are saying, this is actually all right? Because this is all very negative stuff. I'm hearing established players are going, meh, it's not really worth it. Lower level players are able to rank.
Literally, all established players are throwing up their hands going, fuck it.
Right.
Every single one.
But from another point of view, from somebody who's been out of the game for a couple of weeks, hasn't seen this content, what I'm hearing there should be a good thing for the game in terms of lower ranking alliances, lower level players, newer players coming in, going, right, well, it's not the same old bastards that are dominating everything. We actually had a shot in this event. Is there anybody coming forward speaking like that?
That's true.
Well, that's like us. We were actually enjoying being top 5 with a shot for first place, and actually, hey, I've got these shiny. I only have G3 epics. I know I'm the poor one in the room, but like actually getting to try out different crews and go and pew pew, and then all of a sudden, Scopely has some bug that dropped 150,000 points on an alliance. Like, what the fuck?
Right, it's a bug.
It's got to be, because the mechanic does not allow you to score 150,000 points in a day. Like, it's not possible.
Can anybody explain that then? Has anybody said, here's the trick?
Crickets. I talked to their admiral, and he put in a ticket.
Have you tried talking to DJs or Ripper or anybody like that?
I messaged DJ, and he's like, yeah, that's not right. So I assume he pushed it on, but I haven't heard back from my ticket from customer service. Neither has anyone else.
You got to raise a little bit more of a stink.
I'd be more inclined there, Late. I'd be more inclined, like on a personal level, the way I would probably approach that if I seen something like that is I would be messaging some of the moderators probably privately, not looking for them to divulge any information, but going like, listen, have you heard about this in other places?
Well, I did post in the bug room, and I tagged the moderators. I think a mod responded to me. Let me see, who was it? If I can find it. Problem is there's 10,000 other messages. But I did get one who said that the correct thing was to, I don't know who Fuzzy Moo is, but he said the right thing to do.
Fuzzy's all right, like, yeah.
Yeah, he said send the ticket in, and they'll hopefully fix it.
Right. Okay.
So Amorgin, the biggest thing about this stuff is, yeah, it makes sense that it's nice to see some lower alliances getting, higher place on the leaderboards, but that's only because everybody else is apathetic to the event. And similarly, it's not like these alliances are necessarily winning anything in the map. They're just pressing a button for points.
You know what it really is? There's a couple people. There's the admiral that wanted to go for it, and he's just clicking buttons. Join, 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 join. Maybe buying a pack or two. Join, join.
Right. Yeah. He's cashing in. He's cashing in his stuff, his currency. Like,
And it's not a very.
Because if you don't own TC, but you've been refining ISO,
I don't think this event is very involved.
You've got the stuff sitting there.
and it's a huge bonus. From what I remember, there's a huge bonus for hitting the start button.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, like, again, the rest of this game plays out the way it has always played out. If you spend money, you're going to get a whole bunch of new, cool, shiny stuff, right? And it's going to be way more powerful than anything these alliances ever have. Like with the new ships that are out there, I think known as Admiral with the Sanctus. I mean, that's like 153 million power. That's more power than like several alliances put together. So like, what's the real goal of having a mid-tier alliance trying to fight somebody like that? It makes no sense. Right.
They're not fighting him, though.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, imagine if
The mid-tier alliances are playing a different game against different people.
right, but imagine this was
One thing I find about this game, lads, I don't know about yous, maybe it's obvious and yous have all known this and you're going, duh, Amorgin, we all fucking knew this, like, but I don't hear it talked about that often, and how games like this, but particularly Star Trek Fleet Command, how it actually does reflect wider society to a degree, in the sense that everything is catered to an elite. The guy who works his ass off in a factory, on a factory floor, and doesn't have a third level education and is trying to raise a family and has a mortgage and whatever the fuck else, right? That guy is never gonna mix in the same circles as the fucking head of fucking some massive multinational corporation, like, right? They will never be in the same room, like, I will never be in the same room as Bill Gates, like, I don't expect to be, So, my daily battles, my day-to-day stuff, the stuff that I concern myself with, are people that are at my level, right? And I think that's the way Scopely expect this game to go, is that the elites will have their own thing going on amongst themselves, and the rest of us there'll be a bloated middle class and everybody's trying to climb the ladder, and then there'll be a working class and a lower class there that just make up the numbers, and like, that's, I have to say, like, that's the way the game seems to be working at the minute. And the only problem I have with that is there are guys that I have played with years ago, and I don't want the game geared towards making the high-level players that I play with want to get together with other high-level players, because there's nothing in it anymore for me and him to have a relationship, right? I don't want to be in a secondary sister alliance with some of these guys, right? And I don't think they want me or any of the guys that have been around for years to be in a secondary sister alliance, because we're one crew, we're one team. It's just when it comes to some of the elite content, if it went server v server tomorrow, for example, where we could bash each other on each server, there would be an elite that would form, and the rest of us would be left behind. And we would be observers onto what the elites are doing, right? And it's already there to a degree, except it's confined to our servers. I don't want the game going that way, but unfortunately that's the way it is in life. That's the way people are. So the game's gone that way. It's going that way even further. It may go server v server at some stage. I don't know. I would have imagined that would have been sooner if it was going to happen, so maybe not. But I don't want to be, if I continue playing that game, I want to be able to go back in if all the guys have reached level 50 and I don't play this game for the next 6 months, and their next goal is getting a Sanctus and getting to that level and competing with them guys. I don't want to go into a game and for that to be irrelevant to me, because I leave that game, then that'll be me done. What will keep me going back is if I can fall in with the same crew and rejoin them, and it's relevant that I'm allowed to fight a level 50 in some shape or form, that I can take out somehow that Sanctus if I need to, or at least me with a group of other players my level can go and do him severe damage, that there is a tactical way that we can compete with the elites. But I don't see it happening, unfortunately.
Yeah, that went bye-bye with Burning. When Burning went bye-bye, they have zero interest in anyone being able to compete with that higher tier player.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the higher tier player probably doesn't want us to be the flies on their screen. You know what I mean? They don't want to be, like, they might be able to joke about swatting us away, but they don't want to have to swat us away. Just give them stuff.
Which is unfortunate. It's unfortunate because if there's no risk to losing, why play? Like, I don't understand the guys who hunt miners all the time. Like, who the hell cares? I can go kill miners all day. If there's no risk to losing, I would much rather go in and see, hey, can I kill that jelly with my auger? You know, there's the risk of losing. But some of the people just like to hit the win button.
Yeah, I think territory was supposed to be that. To circle it back to this whole event that's going on and stuff, I think territory was supposed to be where everybody's on a level playing field and you can smash each other's ships if you want. You can see that 153 million Sanctus and you're a level 10 player in a Realta or whatever the fuck it is, like a 15 or whatever, you can get the territory. And you can go and hit this guy's ship. But normally that's never going to happen. I think territory was supposed to be that, and this is probably an attempt to reinvigorate territory, to get it active and get it being used. Like, even though I'm not playing, I know the guys on our server are doing territory stuff a lot more because our territories had bedded down. The server population wasn't big enough to fill the entire territory anyway. Some very, very small alliances that didn't really rate in anything were able to hold territories and just sit there, and there were empty territory spaces. So for us, this is reinvigorated territory. Like, I can now go into the game and mine G4 gas in territory, right? I'll be hit by all of the same old players and all of that kind of thing, but I can do it. Up until now, I was stealing it. We don't have G4 crystal now because we gave that up. But I have a reserve of G4 crystal because we held that for so long. So it has certainly reinvigorated territory to a degree on my server. I'm just not playing enough to get a feel to know if it's enjoyable or not.
I think Scopely is learning, dare I say, because last month's event was dumb. This one is slightly better. The problem is, and we talked about it, is you got these little guys who just drop the pin, and yay for them, they get points. You need to also get points for engagement. You maybe not necessarily win. Like, we went in last night and we tried to take over the 3-star next to us. Cool. Well, we weren't going to win because it was us versus that alliance who we maybe could have won, but then their buddies, and no, we're not going to beat the number 1 alliance on the server. We couldn't put ships into the system fast enough. But but most people aren't doing that. They're not fighting a battle that they know they're going to lose just because it's kind of fun to fight the battle. They needed to go, okay, you get points for joining, but you're going to get points for scoring. So you have to actually show up. And every 500 points you score, you get more points or something like that. But when it's just, I can join, well, anybody can hit the button and join. It takes the fun out of it because the fun is the fight.
Yeah. I was going to say to the lads earlier, and I'm going to leave you on this because I need to run here, but one of the things I think that I done, that DJ does it a bit now, Deuce does it as well, but given that you guys on this podcast are like, you're the alternative voice to a degree or whatever, I think there's probably room for a little bit more. Now, I'm not saying you need to do this. Maybe another podcast, somebody else does this or whatever. But there's room for creating more space for players to actually, unfortunately, do Scopely's job for them, right? Come up with plans, come up with detailed ideas, fleshing out how things would work, right? So, for example, you're often given a suggestion how an event might work there late, right? That there's a list of things like this. One of the things that Thaler Harmer done, one of the things that caught on very well when I was doing content was the community panel always discussed ideas. Somebody had an idea for something, how the game would work. It's not giving out about what's not working. It's about creating something ourselves and going, this would fucking work, right? And this is how it would work. And then everybody gives feedback on how that works. So there's an actual plan. So what Thaler done was Thaler went away and trawled through official Discord and other places to a list of 40 ideas for the game, right? And me and Thaler sat down and exhaustively went through this list of how it would work, right? How each of these ideas would work, right? And it took a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of shite talk, but we got there through the 40 items. And Thaler was at great lengths to say, this isn't my work. This is other people's stuff that I've compiled and thrown in some of my ideas there. So essentially the benefit that I had was somebody who went and done the research out there among the players, lifted the top 40 ideas and went, these are the things need fixed with the game and this is how we'd fix them, right? And I'm certain that on account of that, that's a big reason why Scopely paid attention to what I was doing, right? It was purely selfish. It wasn't because they cared really what we were saying. It was that we were doing their job for them. We were giving them loads of little yellow post-its. I think Taylor used to talk about these ideas that they used to implement on a sprint. So they'd have their long-term plans that they'd be working on in terms of new content and things coming on down the tracks. But then there'd be things they can do in a sprint, which would be like, that's what would be on your yellow post-it at the computer saying, okay, we can actually, that's an easy enough job. We can fix that in the next couple of weeks, while we're working on the new content. So they'd have a list themselves of things they can do in a sprint, right? And then, of course, the planning meetings would be coming down the tracks where they're looking at the next set of content and they're always looking for ideas and that. These guys are brainstorming themselves all of the time. So if you do that work for them, they can automatically sit down and listen to a podcast. They don't have to like us. They don't have to give a shit about what we're saying. None of that there. They just want ideas that they can bring to the table, right? So we offered that to them as a community, as players. And they could rely on the ability to listen to my podcast or anybody's content. And they're doing this at the minute, right? They're listening right now, right? What it takes is that member of staff to kind of go, I fucking like that. I'm going to take that to the table at the next meeting. Or I can do that in a sprint, right? So we had a list that we worked of change this, Scopely, listen and change this shit, right? And we had ideas around that, and we dedicated time every time we put out content to doing that. And in the middle of it all, then we gave out about all of the shit as well. So they also were forced to hear what we didn't like. So I want to leave you just with that, because I think you guys have the capacity to do that work for Scopely instead of just being the place where you're going to go and bash them, right? I'm not saying you should do it. It might be a mistake, but there's certainly room for anybody listening that ever thought about, fuck it, I could do a Star Trek Fleet Command podcast. I can be a content creator. I can do that. Fucking try it. Fucking try it and go out and do it and see, and then maybe you'll create something and create a niche there that fucking somebody else hasn't thought of. And then those of us that agree can work together on that stuff. You want to go off on a solo run with your own ego? 100% work away, right? If you want to go and play the game and get an NDA with Scopely and be in the right circles and mixing it, okay, fair play to you, go ahead and do that, right? But if you want to also be the outspoken one to say it as you say it and speak straight and not have to worry about your P's and Q's and whether you've used a profanity or not, then there's guys there that you can work with that does that, like Tech and Kirk and a few others, you know. So that, I'm going to leave you with that, lads. It's a plea out to people that if they want to change it, get off your arse and do it. And if you can't do it yourself, come into podcasts like this and offer your support. Maybe you're the person that will go away and do a list for Tech and Kirk, for example, and say, here's the 40 items that you guys can cover. And you can there's loads of content for you. You can come to that every fucking week and say, okay, we've got these 3 issues today. Let's fucking brainstorm Scopely's fucking stuff and let's give them solutions, you know. I think you have the capacity to do that, and that's certainly something that I think other players would like to get involved in. So I'll leave you with that suggestion. If that's okay, and I'm going to piss off.
Amorgin, that's always good advice. I love talking to you, man. That's why I love having you on the show. It's been great. But actually, we're kind of over time right now, so I think this is a good natural stopping point. And I want to thank everybody that's up here. Late to the party, ocmsrzr, Amorgin, Cook, whose podcast has been renamed Dead and Friends because they're not alive or something. Whatever. Dead and Friends. Go check it out. Used to be Fireside Chat. Anyways, guys, I want to thank everybody listening. For those of you listening on social media, please like, subscribe, comment, do all the things social media asks you to so that the algorithm is much better for us. And as always, thanks all for listening. This has been Trek Talk. I'm TechMan16.
And I'm Strange Handy.
And Kirk went back to LARPing. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
He's Kirkin.
He's Kirkin. And feel free to jump into the after party.